Hello, welcome to another video from earnPED.com. I'm Stevie B, happy to have you all with me today. Guys, let's take a couple of big sips to get this started. So, yesterday, or in the last video I should say, we talked about Regeneration Chips, the Mindforce equivalent of a FAP. And we compared them to the FAP that I currently use. We talked about Regeneration Chip 6, Regeneration Chip 3, and we talked about Biotropic, the profession, and bioregenesis. And in that video, I mentioned several times that the reason Biotropic as a profession is so important is because of limited restoration chips that are needed for whenever you get to the end game, whenever you get to the highest levels of the game, the most profitable levels of the game, where you're going to need items that can do a whole lot of healing in an emergency situation. So today I want to show you guys restoration chips, the limited restoration chips that I talked about in the last video. Now, these are different. These do not act like a FAP does in a lot of respects. Yes, it's a healing device, but when we talked about the regeneration chips the other day, we were specifically talking about a Mindforce chip that acts very, very, very similar to a FAP, down to how often you can use it per minute, the healing interval, all of the above. So today I want to look at the limited restoration chips because these things really sell very, very well. They've got great demand, they've got amazing markup, and whenever you get to the end game, you're going to need to be able to use these, which means your biotropic profession is going to be very, very, very important, which is why I've recently started focusing on it. So first I want to show you the Restoration Chip 19 Limited. Now this is because I could not find the Restoration 20 on auction. So you'll notice that this has a profession level of 90 to 95. So you do not max this out until level 95 biotropic. Now remember, bioregenesis skill is 45% of biotropic. So biotropic is a pretty hard profession to grow. Notice that it uses 200 mind essence per use. Notice that it does not use universal ammo. You have to have mind essence. Notice that you can only use it twice per minute. So you can only use this every 30 seconds. That's why I say it's an emergency healing device that does an incredible amount of healing in an emergency situation. With a regeneration chip, which is essentially just the Mindforce equivalent of a FAP, you can use those every couple of seconds. In fact, my FAP that I use and my Regeneration Chip 6 have the exact same uses per minute. I can use those 22 times a minute. Restoration chips, I can only use twice per minute, so only every 30 seconds. But look at the insane amount of healing the Restoration Chip 19 can do. 668.5 through 891.3 HP. That is an insane amount of HP. There's only a few avatars in game who would even need that much healing. And then it has an effect when used, heal by 95% of heal for 30 seconds. So let's look at a lower level. First, let's look at the markup. So demand side, there's been 36 PED sell this week, 142 PED this month, 1.7 thousand PED this year. So markup on a yearly rate, 1.7 or 409% markup. For month and week, we're closer to 650% markup because these chips have been used a lot more during migration. So the markup has gone up during migration. And with these restoration chips 18, 19, 20 limited, what you're going to see is, yes, they've got good markup, but the markup's going to fluctuate. It's going to be lower when there's not events going on, and it's going to be higher when there are events because the Ubers are going to be grinding out those events. So therefore, they're going to need to buy more chips. They're going to be competing for those chips. They're going to be driving the price up during events, and it's going to drop during non-event times. But now let's look at a lower level limited restoration chip that most of us could probably come closer to using. So this is the Restoration Chip 3 Limited. And notice that this has a profession requirement of level 15 biotropic. So I could actually use this one. And notice again that 64 mind essence needed. Notice that you cannot use universal ammo with these, only mind essence. You can use universal ammo with the regeneration chips, but with these restoration chips limited, no, only mind essence. Notice again, only 2 uses per minute. You're going to see that across all of these restoration chips, that they only have 2 uses per minute. Notice that the healing interval is 82.4 to 109 and 25 meter range, and then notice again, heal by 95% of heal for 30 seconds. So they've only got 2 uses per minute, but they've got these incredible healing intervals, and they've got this 95% of heal for 30 seconds, which is why these are so important. And while it might not look impressive on the Restoration Chip 3, you might be like, okay, well, yeah, that's just like a really good FAP, I guess. Whenever you look at that insane healing ability of the Restoration Chip 19, and when you're looking at those higher level restoration chips, the 17, 18, 19, 20, you see why the Ubers use them, because they provide an incredible amount of healing. Now, obviously, not a lot of people can use those higher level chips, which is why you see pretty good demand and pretty good markup. But look at the insane demand and insane markup on these lower level chips. 1,350% markup. 1,300%, 1,000% for the year. But again, we're at higher markups because of migration. During event times, more people are using these, so the markups are going up. And look again at these numbers: 44 PED this week, 190 PED this month, 2.9 thousand PED this year. So great demand, amazing markup, and that's why I love going for these lower level restoration chips in loot pools, because they sell like hotcakes, and they sell for incredible markups, especially if you're selling them during event periods. So this is where the difference between regeneration chips, which we talked about the other day, and limited restoration chips comes into play. These limited restoration chips are essentially emergency FAPs that can only be used twice per minute, that have this 95% of heal over 30 seconds, and have these incredible healing intervals. Now remember, they can only be used twice per minute, and the buff is 95% of heal for 30 seconds. So technically, if you used a restoration chip limited every 30 seconds, which would be the maximum that you could use it, you would just constantly be healing, because even though you can only use it every 30 seconds, that buff that gives you 95% of heal over 30 seconds, it's just going to run out the timer, and that buff is going to deactivate the moment you can use it again. So essentially just using it as often as you could every 30 seconds, you're just essentially going to have continuous healing. But that's not really smart given the markup. Really what these are used for is emergency situations when you need large amounts of healing, and you need large amounts of healing over time as well. Now, here's something that really makes these limited restoration chips absolutely amazing. If I pull out my Mindforce FAP, my Regen Chip 6, I'm actually going to get a mob on me so you can see this. Well, I guess you guys can't because it's covered by the bar down below. But if you use a regeneration chip, not a restoration chip, a regeneration chip, mine has like 22 uses per minute, same as my FAP, right? So with those, I'm going to actually activate it right now. I'm using it. Now I'm switching back to my weapon. Now my weapon's activated. Okay, here's the thing, guys. That's just the same amount of time as if I was using a FAP, right? Because it's essentially just a Mindforce FAP. However, with the restoration chips, there's an added benefit. When you use these limited restoration chips, they have an insanely fast switching period that allows you to switch back and forth between the restoration chip and your weapon. In fact, it is so fast, if you don't know what you're looking at, it is possible to miss it. And I've actually had this happen. I had a player back at Halloween. He said, hey, Messi was doing a high category defense instance for Halloween, and he was going up against some really big creatures that were doing some massive damage, and his health really declined. And then all of a sudden, for a split second, there was this thing where he waved his hands and there was this purple glow around him, and then all of a sudden he's healed. But I watched and he never switched away from his weapon. I can't figure out what's going on. I said, no, he did. It was just so fast you didn't see it. He was like, no. He swore up and down that Messi never switched items. I said, no, I promise you he did. It's a limited restoration chip. They switch that fast back and forth between weapons. So not only do you get the insane heal, not only do you get the heal over time, but in addition to all the other stuff, it switches so quickly, it heals you so quickly, that it's almost like you don't even have to stop shooting. So I actually went into the stream that he was talking about. I found the exact moment in the stream that he was talking about, And I told him, I said, go back to the stream and watch at this exact timestamp, and you will see that 1 second before he's using the mod nano blade, and then in that split second, if you freeze frame it, it will say on his equipped item bar, Restoration Chip 19 Limited, and that's when you'll see the hand wave and the purple glow. And then the split second after that, it goes back to mod nano blade, because they switch that quickly. And that is one of the big draws to these restoration chips, in addition to everything else about the healing and the healing interval and the buff and all that good stuff. One of the big draws is you essentially do not have to stop to fap. And this is where restoration chips kind of shine. The problem with regular fapping and the problem with regeneration chips, which is just Mindforce fapping, is you have to stop to do it. Now, ideally, you want to do that between kills. Ideally, you don't want to do that as you're actively taking damage and as the mob's actively regenerating. So, like example, I'm going to kill this one. I'm going to pull out my fap. I'm going to lock onto a target. I'm going to heal. And I'm just going to stand here while I fap. So I'm going to fap for a minute. Okay, now I'm going to hunt. And the reason I want to do that is much more ideal. I don't want to get into a situation where I'm hunting and I have to stop and fap because the creature's already attacking me. So as I'm healing, the creature's just going to keep dealing damage, and essentially I'm just trying to negate the damage that I'm taking in the moment. And then in addition to that, the creature's also regenerating at the exact same time. So what I don't want is I don't want a situation where I'm at right now where I actually have to heal while taking damage, because see, I just healed and then I took damage. I heal, I take damage. It's like I'm healing and then the healing's just being offset by the damage that I'm still taking. Versus if I can avoid doing that, if I can avoid having to heal, regardless of if I'm using a FAP or a regeneration chip, if I can avoid that till after I've killed the mob and before I kill the next mob, then there's a lot less waste, there's a lot less downtime, there's a lot less regeneration, and it's just way more efficient and effective to play the game healing between kills than trying to heal during kills when you heal and then the mob just does more damage and it's like you never even healed in the first place. It's just a waste of time and waste of money. And this is where the restoration chips shine, because they're so quick to use and so quick to switch between your weapon and your restoration chip that it's like you never have to stop at all. It's like you just get the healing as you're hunting. So as long as you've got your restoration chip and your item that you're using as your weapon both hotkeyed, you're golden. You can switch between exceedingly fast. So fast that even when people are looking for it, they don't see it until you tell them, go look at this exact timestamp. Then they can see it. So restoration chips are a big thing when you get to the higher levels of the game. And this is part of the reason I think so many people do what I did, where they don't even bother with Biotropic early on, because they don't really see the benefit. You're looking at regeneration chips and you're like, yeah, but I've already got a FAP that does that. Yes, you do. Just like I do. However, my FAP gives me paramedic skills. It gives me fapping skills. What it doesn't do is give me biotropic skills, because biotropic is the Mindforce equivalent of paramedic. Biotropic is just Mindforce healing profession, right? So by using my regeneration chip, as I'm doing my regular hunting, I'm getting that bioregenesis. I'm building my biotropic. And then whenever it does come time to actually go into a situation where I need a restoration chip limited for an event or an instance or whatever, then I've at least already got the skills to do it with. It would be insanely uneconomical. You would lose a small fortune and drive yourself absolutely insane if you tried to skill with nothing but limited restoration chips. It would definitely break the bank. And now there are ways that you can skill using unlimited restoration chips, mainly from the Mission Galactica line. We'll talk about that in a future video. But today the big takeaway is, since we covered regeneration chips the other day, and that's the Mindforce equivalent of a FAP, I wanted to show you guys the limited restoration chips and explain kind of the differences and why the limited restoration chips are so important and so powerful when it comes to higher level gameplay. So you can start with the restoration chip limited 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a great way to start building your biotropic. I would suggest, if you're going to do that, get a regeneration chip 1, 2, 3, whatever, and really mainly use that and save the restoration chips for like emergency situations. And you're obviously going to want to be sure that you make those restoration chips last as long as possible. That's where adding extenders to your chips comes in. That's where adding the right implant to your arsenal to be sure it takes up the appropriate amount of decay is important to your setup. So all of that's important, and we will cover all of that in future videos. But today, I just wanted you to kind of understand what limited restoration chips are, how they work, what they do, kind of the good, the bad, the ugly. And the thing is, there's really only good. There's good, amazing, and better. The only thing that's even bad or ugly about it, I should say, is just how ridiculously hard it is to skill the biotropic profession, which is what those chips use, and the fact that there's just not a lot of people that talk about it. So I think there are a lot of players that do not understand A, the benefits, B, how they work, or C, that even looking at biotropic and thinking about trying to skill it a little bit on the side is something they might want to pay attention to if they're anything from casual player on up. Even if you're a casual, regular player, if you're somebody who plays Entropia every single month, you don't go more than 30 days without logging in, you're going to want to spend some amount of time looking at your biotropic profession. Now, like I said, luckily biotropic does have a lot of core skills that go into it. The biggest problem being that bioregenesis skill is 45% of your biotropic profession, and you can only get it through using regeneration chips or restoration chips. But that other 55%, you can naturally grow by hunting, by using a regular FAP, by doing a lot of your regular in-game activities anyway. So that will at least give you a little bit of a head start, a little bit of a jumping off point. You're not going to have to probably start all the way from zero. In fact, if you've been playing for any amount of time at all, and you've never even heard of the biotropic profession before, I guarantee if you go look at it, it's not going to be level 0, most likely. Most players who are level 30, 40, 50, or above are going to have a non-zero biotropic level. I can't see how anybody could get to level 30, 40, or 50 in any profession, really, without having some biotropic level above 0, just because naturally you have to FAP. Naturally you grow defense skills. Naturally you hunt. And there's a lot of these crossover skills that go into biotropic that will help you in your path or your ladder that you have to climb to try and grow your biotropic to be able to use these ever increasingly more valuable limited restoration chips at the higher levels. So guys, I will leave it there for today. Sip, smack, smack. Y'all know the rest. Head over to earnPED.com. When you earn, we earn. It's by far the best way you can help support us. Simply use the links on earnPED.com to go to hideout.tv. Hideout will add us as a redemption option for your hideout points. As the banner says at the bottom of the screen, guys, please hit that subscribe button and that bell icon. That way you guys are notified as soon as we post new content. That keeps you up to date on all the stuff that we're putting out and helps you play smarter, not harder. And we would really, really appreciate it if every single player would hit like on every single video we post. A, this helps us combat the trolls and the haters, but B, when you do these three things, when you hit these three buttons, it gives us more exposure. The YouTube algorithm puts us in front of people who watch videos on PC gaming and MMOs and real cash economy gaming. Those people start to see our videos. They start to learn how to play smarter, not harder. A lot of times it's the first time they've ever even heard of Entropia Universe. And we keep getting messages every single week from people who are saying, hey, I never even heard of the game. I was on YouTube. I saw your videos. Now, let me tell you about how I started 3 months ago, and this is everything that I've accomplished. Would you please tell your followers they are having a big impact simply by hitting those buttons and being sure videos like this get in front of people like me. I am so glad I found this. This is now my hobby, my passion. So because you guys hit those three buttons, you guys are making a huge impact on the game. You're bringing people into the game, you're growing the community, and you're growing the economy. But more importantly, you're sharing the game that is our love and our passion, in addition to our hobby, with other people who are now making it their love, their passion, not just their hobby. So kudos to you guys, because you guys deserve all the credit for that. It's all because of y'all. So thank you guys. Please keep it up. I'll be back with more for you next week. Till then, sip, smack, smack. Y'all know the rest. Take care, Stevies.